One. Hey, we back, baby. It's
And
been a few weeks, guys. It's been a few weeks, but we're back. Too Easy Playbook. We're back on the map. Sorry, guys. Honestly, I've been focused on the streamer this entire month, so I've been gassed. Me and Barco, we do Too Easy Podcasts, but I can't neglect my own podcast, Too Easy Playbook. And today, I got my homeboy here, name brand. He changed his name. You know what I'm saying? If y'all notice, he changed his name, guys.
like a
But
thousand times.
yeah, he changed his name 1,000 times. He gonna get there. I changed my name a few times too, so I feel you though. But yeah, man, this is Too Easy Playbook, and you guys know this is the playbook on life itself. And today, you see the title. You see the title, guys. This is the live right here. I want to talk some game. I want to talk some game, and I think that we both are kind of like in the same place right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, we had different experiences, but we're both in the same place to where like our outlook on life and the things that we experience. Let's talk some game, man. So, what's some game that we can give to the younger generation, or maybe people our age?
Yeah. Hold on. Before we get into it though, let's start with education first, right? Because the mind is a terrible thing to waste. I know you were speaking something along the lines of favorite books or books that we're currently reading. Let me just give you a few recommendations that I have, right? Some things that changed my perspective a little bit. And some things that I'm currently reading, or I won't go too deep into all the books that I'm reading, just one specifically, because sometimes it's good to change it up. Here, let me show you. Let me show you this one right here. Especially for you. This right here, emotional intelligence, I highly recommend you specifically because you're an asshole. Yeah,
Apparently, guys, I'm an asshole.
yeah, for sure.
I didn't know that.
No. So like just the art of mastering your emotions and understanding why people feel the way that they feel
Hmm.
and just taking a deeper like dive into your brain and that connection is always going to be beneficial, especially for people who think they're antisocial or that just crumble under pressure in terms of trying to speak to others. That is going to be a big help to getting you that like one step closer to building connections, long lasting connections with people, or ultimately just trying to get one step closer to getting what you want from someone, whether that's a positive thing or a negative thing. I think emotional intelligence is a good way to start learning how to effectively communicate,
But let's talk about
especially someone like you, because you straight asshole.
man. I don't think I'm that bad. I don't think I'm that bad. Gosh damn. I might okay, sometimes, definitely. But I think for the most part, like emotional intelligence is key to a lot of things. I think I learned this very late in life. And by late I mean recent. So when it comes to like emotional intelligence, man, like that's probably like the hardest thing to grasp, like especially if you're in your 20s. Like you're still kind of like figuring out life and
Yeah,
you're trying to figure out like what's cool, what's not cool, what should I do for my future, and things of that nature. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in your 20s besides the raging hormones, right? And then once you get to like the end of your 20s, you start to understand like, man, like people just be pressed over dumb stuff. Like people be angry, mad and angry over just this over simple things that's not gonna change your life at all. It's not gonna alter your reality. So I think like that. Like to me, having emotional intelligence is understanding like time and place, understanding when to react and when to speak. But obviously, it gets a lot deeper. It gets a lot deeper. It goes down like a whole rabbit hole of like really understanding all intricacies of like people in their mind.
yeah. And this is why you should definitely read into it, and
It definitely, I'm
we can
definitely.
have a way better conversation about it. But I think you're making a point. And something else I would like to add to that is the simple fact of the matter is most people don't know how to effectively communicate. And I think that just starts with yourself understanding that communication isn't necessarily talking. The vast majority of it is listening, and you need to be able to comprehend what someone is telling you and why they're telling you what they're saying. And that's very difficult. It's a high level skill. And this is why I say start with emotional intelligence because a lot of people lead with their emotions, vice their logical side. And so if you can break down someone's emotions, more than likely you could be able to accomplish more things. You see what I mean? So it's one of my favorite books because there was a point where I believed I was antisocial and all these other different things. And the more I
You
read
believe
like the self-help books, self-improvement, I put myself out there, the better off I became in life.
so you believe you were like an introvert,
To some degree, yeah.
or you just thought you was antisocial? Which one? Like, were you one
More
of the?
like an introvert because
Okay,
I was never truly antisocial.
I'll tell you. I actually was antisocial in high school, and here's the reason why. I grew up in an Hispanic environment, right, for majority of my life, of my childhood,
Here we go.
up until my dad moved to a different neighborhood where it was like straight mix between Hispanic, black people, and white people, right? And Indians, and like actual Indians from India, from like India. So it was like a mix, right? But like the black people they were from New Orleans because Hurricane Katrina, all that stuff happened. It was such like a barrier of communication between myself and them. Like I didn't understand them, even though we spoke the same language. I did not understand them, and the way they acted and the way they talk and the way they tolerated things, the way they just fought over the smallest things. So like I began to shut down when I first moved to the high school. I shut down for like an entire year. I literally just went antisocial, and I only spoke to like three people that my sophomore year of high school completely. But yeah, it was like one of those things where I was kind of like honestly, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, God damn, am I weird or something like that? Like, am I like, why am I so different? Like everybody has an expectation of me to be a certain way, and I just can't be that way. Like they're talking to me like, why do you talk so white? I'm just like, I mean, what do you mean white? Like, you mean like proper English? What are you trying to say? Oh, so you're trying to say I'm dumb? I'm like, no, I'm just trying to figure out what you're talking about. Like, what do you mean talk white? That makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
Going through that, I became extremely antisocial like my sophomore year. And then eventually my junior and senior year, I figured out who to like hang around, who to be around. And then I actually started getting, actually established like a friend group
mhm.
again. But yeah, like going through that was rough because I was like, God dang, I'm the fucking weird kid, like I'm the fucking antisocial, can't talk to anybody. Everybody had an expectation for me to act like all. Typically, I would hang around Hispanics, right? The Hispanics didn't want to hang around me because they thought I was like the other people, right? They're like, oh no, you one of them ignorant
Like you're
people.
not one of us. Yeah,
Yeah, you're not one of us. You one of them ignorant people. I don't want to hang around with you. I'm just like, no, I'm not like that actually. You know what I mean? And then they were just like shunning me over to, nah, stay away from me, stay away from me. But what ended up happening is they finally realized that I'm more comfortable around them, and I'm not comfortable around the other stuff. So yeah, that's what happened. If I had some emotional intelligence though, and understanding how people act and the way that they behave was based on environmental factors, maybe I could have maneuvered a lot better in high school. But yeah, man,
yeah. I mean,
I defaulted to what was comfortable.
yeah. That brings up another argument of nature versus nurture and things in that regard. But here's what I would say is I can understand where you're getting at, but at that age, sometimes you just got to go through life. Yeah. But so here's something I'm reading right now. Right, it's a book called How Bad Things Can Get. Is so for me right now, the thing is I want to switch up like genres essentially because I read a lot of self-help books, self-improvement books. Just it gets a little diversity into the playbook. You know what I mean? Try to get on all spectrums here.
The book about? What is the book supposed to be about?
So it's this book is realistically I'm maybe like 3 or 4 chapters into it, but it's about a famous or influencer or like a podcaster essentially who goes to a deserted island with a few hundred of his fans. It's this whole thing about cults and you know how that gets down. So it's not my typical type of read, but that's the point.
Is
It's
it
the
a fairy tale?
it's definitely fiction.
Okay, it's fiction. Okay, all right. Well, that's different, man.
Yeah, it's different, and that's the reason why I'm reading it because it's even as I'm getting into it, it's like I don't know if this is something I could truly get into, but it makes sense for me to diversify and to step away from the self-help, self-improvement, and get more involved into like the fiction or the horror and all these different topics and fantasy and whatnot.
I see what you mean, kind of like read the
Yeah,
anime. But you
yeah,
know what?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you know what though? I think one of my favorite books, right? What actually got me into reading books because I typically never read books unless I was forced to. I had to be forced to read books when I was a kid, man. Like I was like, man, I don't want to read books.
No, I understand.
Yeah, but the first book that actually got me into reading books was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay,
Robert
that's
Kiyosaki.
one I read too.
Yeah, so that was like my first book where I kind of like, okay, all right, because it made me want to know more about making money. It made me want to know more about making money, buying real estate.
That's interesting because I got like a different perspective from it.
Well, okay, so my perspective, right, from Rich Dad Poor Dad, you got your. So if y'all don't know, like in Rich Dad Poor Dad, his real dad was like his poor dad who worked pretty much a 9 to 5 and had a retirement plan, had all these different things paid and lived for his debt. And then he had a poor dad who used the system, who looked like he took advantage of people, but he really didn't. And he used the system to build his empire. And his rich dad was the one that he was actually proud of. That's the one he actually listened to. That's how Robert Kiyosaki became the person he is today, because he listened to his rich dad, all the lessons that he took him through, so he could become, the real estate tycoon he is. But what I take from it is that money is not essentially real. You know what I mean? And time is really what's real. And you got to find a way to make money so you can buy your time back. So you can, once you buy your time back, you can use that time to make more money over here. So it's like you're compounding things to where one day you could just sit at home and just chill. You know what I mean? Kind of like what we do in the military. We all put in this 20-year effort so we can get that money for the rest of our lives, right? But in this way, so essentially in the military, we do our 20 years so we can earn a retirement. What he's trying to say is you buy your time back immediately. You start investing and buying your time back. That way you don't have to work so many years, and you can just do whatever you want, put your time and effort and energy in towards things that make money. That way when you have that available free time, you can do whatever you want with it. Yeah, so I mean that's what I got from it.
No, I think that's a good perspective. Um, I got something completely different, but I was also reading several other books around the same time when I read that book. So,
You
like,
one of them scramble people, huh?
no, I would what I would do is I would read maybe like a chapter or two, maybe three, depending on like how long the chapters were for each book. And then I'd immediately move on to the next one. Like I read Emotional Intelligence the same time I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then I just saw you some other books in my collection. So it
Yeah.
just kind of, for the most part, it all tied together for me. But
So what book actually changed you for the better?
for the better,
Yeah.
it was the 4 Hour Work Week.
4 hour work. All right. So I'm actually curious about it because I've heard about it, but I never really thought to look into it too much. So I'll just give me like a brief example, like or explanation, like what's going on inside that book.
So I'd have to freshen up on it for the most part. From what I remember, what I held on to is when it comes to your most important work and the most important work that you're going to get done, typically it's a small time span or time window, essentially, in terms of your attention and the max effort that you're going to give to a specific task or something that you truly prioritize. So you need to safeguard that small window of time for your most important work and what's most important to you, because that's the only way you will truly progress in life. If you spend that time focusing on other people's top priorities, like your company, your friends, your families, you will never progress. And so that's something I took near and dear to my heart, because obviously there's a lot of things in life that we think we would like to accomplish, or we feel like we're being successful, or you're getting awards and trophies and pieces of wood, and none of that truly matters because your life is falling apart around you. You go and ask a man, what's most important to you, they'll say the most superficial things like my wife, my kids, this or whatever.
It's essentially your mission. That's what's really the
But
most.
they're so focused on like their work, their job, whatever the case is. Like let's just say for an example, their kids are the most important thing. So that is crumbling right in front of them, but they're chasing other people's priorities and putting their maximum effort into making sure those goals are achieved. And they get their little piece of wood or their little metal plaque for it. But their kids come to be 12, 14, 16, 18,
I hate them.
and then you think that you have and you think you have time, but honestly you don't. And so just to break it down like that in the simplest form as possible, that's what I got from the 4 hour work week. It's the focus.
I feel
You're,
that because I feel like there's a lot of people that were like in the military and they just put like their entirety into this organization, which is, hey, by all means, do you. You know what I mean? They put their entire soul into it, and then it's like, what's there left? Like, what are you? Who's your identity at that point? You know what I mean?
and they lose it. They lose it. They don't know who they are once they get out.
Yeah, they don't know. You don't. They don't know who they are when they get out. Now they're out. They're like, I gotta go back. I gotta go get another government job. I gotta be in the same position that I was before because that's the only thing I know. And I see that today, like every day. And when I go to work, and I'm looking around. I'm like,
Yeah. So if there's anything I can impart onto you from the 4 hour work week is to is that small window of time where you're gonna make your best decisions, your best choices. You're gonna think the most about something. You
yeah,
need to prioritize what's most important to you in that time frame. That way you can further achieve your goals and be successful in like task or aspect of life that you're trying to be successful in. So a great example is like fitness, right? If you want to be fit, if you have a certain weight goal, if you have certain PRs, right, make sure you do your planning and you work out, or you plan then work out within that time frame. Because if you don't, then you'll go to your default choices of whatever's most yeah.
okay, all right, I see what you're saying. So I was thinking, okay, I was a little bit left in with it. I was thinking like, like when you go to work and you put in all this effort into work versus your own personal life. I'm thinking that's what I was
No,
thinking.
no, and then it gets a little deeper too because it goes into like spans of like morning, afternoon, evening, what type of person you are. You're a morning person or evening type of person. So for an example, like let's just say you're a morning person. You focus better in the morning, right? Obviously you have to work in the morning, but if you get up around 6, maybe at 6 a.m., you're writing in your journal, you're reading a book, maybe like a chapter, if that's all the time
Like
you
I'm
have.
studying Spanish,
And
like something.
if it's about fitness, you're focused on your meal prep that you did the night before, or something that's gonna move the needle a little bit forward, that one step closer to you achieving that goal before you go in and you give all that effort to other things, right?
That makes sense. Because I don't think I'm a morning person, but I do think my focus is a lot better in the morning. I think my focus is like when I go to work, I'm like as soon as I get there, I'm like locked in, and then like the afternoon after chow, I'm kind of like halfway there. But
You need like an energy drink or something to pick you up, and you're just at
energy,
this point you feel like you're just an NPC. You're just going through life.
that's what I'm saying. So I probably should wake up every day, read, and do my Spanish, versus waiting till I get home and
Yeah,
study.
practice in the morning. Do whatever you're doing. I'm not learning a different language, so I couldn't tell you, but definitely when you're
It's
locked in,
if I do it in the morning, I'm gonna put more effort into it because I'm a more focused person in the morning. Based
exactly.
off your logic. Okay. I mean that's a different perspective on life there. That's some
And
good
then
game.
I take it a step forward, right? Because
Yeah.
like this greatly changed my mentality and why I operate the way that I operate. Because I used to always be like this type of person who like everything needed to be right and perfect. step by step type of dude, right? Ever since that, like that, none of that matters to me. Like obviously there are some things that need to be performed step by step. It needs to be done meticulously. But however, I if it's not important or if it's not important to the people that I work for, that like especially in that moment, is not important to me. And so if it becomes important later on, then maybe it is something that I'll look into. But as it stands, like I will not put energy or effort or try to stress out over things that I cannot control, one, and two, that does not matter. So if it falls apart, it falls apart. It is what it is. Just as long as the things that matter the most to me are in order, that's essentially what it meant.
Yeah, but like being raised in the Marines, you're taught the opposite.
Yeah.
So it's hard if you do 5, 8 years of this and then you're like, shit, I've been doing it the wrong way the entire time. I should have been focusing on my goals, my dreams, my aspirations, and giving more time and energy and effort into that, versus me trying to perfect something um, that is gonna never be perfected, or it's gonna be a constant thing. It's gonna be constant problems, like especially in my job. Like it's always gonna be something, and then
There's two things that I always tell myself. The first thing is, was this here before me and will it be here after me? And if the answer is yes, I calm down. And then number two is there anything that I can do right now in this moment or differently than what I'm doing to change the outcome? That I will not stress over anything that I cannot control. So if I have absolutely no control over the outcome or whatever's going to happen, the only thing I'm going to do is the best that I could possibly do. And that is it. And so I constantly tell myself those two things day in and day out to remind myself to mellow out. And most people think that like my demeanor is or whatnot, but that's just how it is because I would rather use that energy on, doing a podcast with you or, preparing for the classes that I'm taking or the other things that I'm getting into and like my fitness and health and reading because honestly, I don't like to read. It's just something I do to improve myself.
honestly, like reading is tough for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Reading is fucking tough. It is tough because I can sometimes I think I have focusing problems, but I guess I might be reading at the wrong time. Maybe I should be reading in the morning because
Exactly.
when it's crunch time and I need to read something, I am locked in for like a good 10 minutes, like thoroughly reading something.
And just read a chapter at a time. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have
You
to blow through it.
Yeah, you don't gotta knock everything out in like one sitting. I think that's what we all kind of like get. We all kind of get up in and we all kind of get caught up in the finish line. Actually, you know what? Speaking of which, well, a book that changed my life, right? A book that changed my life, and I'm being dead honest when I say this. 'Cause I am not supposed to be here because this book has saved me. David Goggins,
Oh my Lord.
Can't Hurt Me. No, I'm being serious. Can't Hurt Me. David Goggins. That book right there, I'm telling you, bro. It talks about a journey of a man. You know what I mean? Just like everybody has their own journey, their own struggle, and what they go through. And that's
I mean, to some degree, I understand. I get it. But I think we all have the same struggles, just
yeah,
packaged differently. You know
no,
what I
no,
mean?
and that's the point of his book, though. That's the point of his book. His book is not about him. It's about you. It's the story is you. Like, what's your struggle? What are you going through? Because obviously he lived like a horrible, shitty life, right? That's why he does all this psychotic, crazy things that he does because his childhood was horrible. So now in his adulthood, he amassed to this thing that can't hurt me. Like there's nothing that can hurt me because I've been destroyed in my childhood. Now I gotta like undo everything that happened to me.
I get it. I mean, I can see how that changed your life. David Goggins, he's one of those personalities. It's intoxicating. It's like it's no like that. I think that's the best way to describe it because like once you take that first sip, you're hooked.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, you are.
you're hooked.
You
because you
are.
could never truly go wrong because you're going to improve in life, your overall fitness and mindset. But I never read any of his books because I think I was already at that point where, I was trying to be accountable for myself and everything that happened around me. This is why I was never the type to cast blame. I just recently, the last few years, stopped complaining, stopped being around people that complain. I stopped being around people who gossip or all they do is sit around and talk shit. Like, I'm never truly going to be away from those kind of people, but I decreased my threshold in which I'm around those kind of people. So I get it. I understand David Goggins. He's a hard dude. Pause. But
Man,
you
hey,
know, I'd say I think you definitely got a good head on your shoulders. Like if you start trying to read in the morning and doing your most important work, if that's truly what works for you,
yeah, of course
it
it
could
does.
propel you forward. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, right? And here's something that I'm actually trying to get better with is, like the most valuable asset that you have is time. So you can just literally like, and this is why I'm always critical of retired military, especially retired enlisted, because it's like, yo, you have worked your youth away. You see it on your face, on your body,
Yeah.
and you have came back to the same environment. When you are retired, you're done.
Hushkala.
Any you could do anything else in the world. And I hate when they come and say, well, I don't have that fuck you money. Like I'm retired, but like I still need to make money. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Live within your means.
Like you're retired, especially the ones who all the kids are grown. So like they're not on child support. So you're good.
They're probably paying for their kids' college. Like that's on them.
That's on them. And it's just like you've given your best years, right? Like sure you're probably at your peak at like 40 and 50, but you're working. Go do a part-time job. Go invest or something. Try something new. You don't need these $100,000 jobs. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to wake up at 6 a.m. and be in a grind to feel like you're alive. You don't. Like legit. And like I'm actually coming to this point in life where it's like it doesn't matter. It does not matter, Reggie. It doesn't. None of it. Like being in the mix or trying to get these well-paying jobs and titles and whatnot, that's a young man's game. That's a our kind of game. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like we're supposed to put our best foot forward for that, but I don't want to be the one who's 50 years old still trying to chase after. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like I get it. Like I'm still gonna work. I get like that's that's never gonna go away. But if I'm waking up at 5, 6 a.m. to be at work at 7 or 8, as a retired man, something is wrong. Something's wrong.
mentally.
Because I'm getting up that early to go to the gym or to work in the garden. And yes, I say a garden. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm getting up early for. I'm not getting up to put the slacks on to go and complain next to Jimmy in accounting or Richard in HR about some shit that means absolutely nothing. It's just to get the day going. Like it kills me. It legit kills. Even now, when I go to work, it kills me. Everyone talks about how busy, how important they are, but you spend hours either bullshitting or doing nothing. Especially the retired ones. It's like, yo, you're you're almost 70. If this is what's keeping you alive, I guess
Yeah, I
I
mean, maybe
don't necessarily respect it. But if I was 70, I would want to spend my time in an office space bitching, crying, and complaining, reminiscing over the good old days. I'd rather be on the beach somewhere. I'd rather be in someone's face drunk, talking about how I'll fund their life, knowing I can't even fund my own.
I'll be in Brazil somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
You know,
Cabo, Mexico.
so this is something that I tell myself every morning. It does not matter what it is particularly.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't. You know, you gotta live your life.
Yeah, you sound, you know what you sound like? You sound like this book I read, The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up. You know what I'm talking about?
I have to check that out. I haven't read that.
Yeah, so that book is basically kind of like what you're talking about. Like, hey, no one's special. Your job's not special. You're not special. Everyone's equal. We all have a purpose. However, that doesn't make you special. You're just one piece of the pod. And then he gets into kind of like just like what are the things that you're worried about, the things that you're dealing with that doesn't serve you, like that you can't do anything right now. And one of those things where people worried about like little shit, little things that don't matter. So you kind of sound like that book, because I ain't gonna lie, my gunny, my one of my gunnies, like I think 5 6 years ago, before my child was born, actually 7 years ago, he gave me that book. He was like, you need to read this book.
You should reread it.
He was like, because you just get way too much of a fuck about.
You, even though you might not care as much anymore, you're still an asshole.
Yeah, nah, I ain't gonna lie. I need to reread that book. That book actually made me a lot. Back then, I cared about everything.
You know, and then so before we get into the game too, because like transitioning, since we're talking about reading and just improving yourself in an intellectual manner in general, fitness, right? Being fit.
Yeah, honestly, like
You don't need to be the biggest dude. You don't need to be, you know,
you
cut
know,
up.
dude in the gym, you don't need
Yeah,
to be
but
fit, six pack abs, but you definitely need to be healthy.
I always tell the junior Marines, right, especially the ones that struggle with weight, I always give them the scenario. It's like, hey, if you went camping with your son or your daughter or your son, daughter, wife, whatever the scenario is, but if you went camping and something happened to where your son tripped and fell and he couldn't walk, like his ankle was swollen, and maybe he was being pursued by a pack of wolves, would you be able to, in your current state right now, pick your son up and get to the nearest exit, take him to the hospital? And it's like, if the answer is no, then you have something to work towards. Because, like, if you're not able to do something like that, then what do you like? What are we doing? You know, you want to get old and in a walker. Like, I understand there's, medical circumstances and other, things that kind of happen. But for the most part, you can definitely control it to some degree, right? Just making sure you're eating as best as possible. You're going to the gym, trying to stay in shape. And I get motivated when I see all the older guys on YouTube doing calisthenics. They're in like the 140, 150, 160 weight range, but they look good, but they're old,
Yeah,
old. And it's like I look towards that. It's like inspiration and motivation. It's just to continue to doing what I'm doing, because when I get to that age of like 60 or 70, I'm not trying to sit there and think to myself like, wow, I got this chronic condition, or like I'm chronically depressed. I just want to wake up and still be able to move and run, defend myself at the very least.
yeah, definitely.
And it's important. It's important because it all comes together. It's the mind body connection. I guess, and then in the spiritual sense as well, for those who are religious, spiritually walking your purpose and having that relationship with the Most High, whoever that may be for you. And that's something that I'm actually gonna get a little bit better with. I got you to thank for that. A phone call we had a few weeks ago about locking in.
Maybe I am an asshole. Maybe yeah, I'm an asshole. I'm an asshole in a good way sometimes.
No, I appreciate that. I was like, damn, I'm like, this motherfucker coming at me 24/7.
Yeah,
But it makes sense. And this just goes back into what I was saying about the people that I hang around now and the people that I allow in my circle, in my space. Because, back in the day, it's just primarily negative, and now I actually hang around people who are of substance or have a purpose, and this is why I'm able to get those calls. Yeah, you're right.
It just changes your life when you lock in, bro.
You're
But
right.
yeah, I think we covered a lot of things. But yeah, I think some of the most important things we cover is, definitely like reading books is important. And without these books that we quote, a lot of the things that we had to go through, our trials and tribulations, those experiences had to change us. When you could just read it in a book and you could probably just prevent yourself from even getting started with some of this stuff. But yeah, man. But like I said, guys, this is Tweezy Playbook. It's the playbook on life.
We didn't even get into game. My bad.
Though the game, yeah, yeah, I mean, nah, yeah, we already
That's it. That's
we already got to see. Yeah, we got to segue into the next one. We got to do the stream brew real quick, episode 16
16.
in a few minutes. So we're gonna get Barco to come in. But yeah, this is a Tweezy Playbook, the playbook on live. Hopefully, we provided you guys with some perspectives on the ways to look into things, and we're gonna do this again. We're gonna do this again because we're locked in.
Just life in general. And just think to yourself, if it was here before you and it'll be after here, it'll be there after you, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, baby. It is what it is.
For real. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. Like, I'm gonna really go to work tomorrow, and I'm gonna think about them.
You tell yourself those two things. Was it here before me? And will it be here after me? Is there something in my control? If the answer is no, it doesn't matter. It does not matter, bro. Don't stress over things you can't control.
And that's the key. Don't stress over things you can't control. But yeah, man, we're gonna go ahead and end it there. This is Tweezy Playbook. It's your host, CP, co-host over here, Name Brand, coming in.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you guys for listening, and we out.
Yes, sir.